Welcome back, everybody. And today we're back again with 9 to 5. Of course, it is really early in the morning, and I would probably signify that with a prop cup. Unfortunately, I just do not have one of those lying around. Of course, this is the last day of the Swiss stages. These are the elimination matches. It is going to be in Nordavind versus Aves coming up first. Then you'll probably be looking at Espada versus Skade, and then SG Pro versus Forze. But right now, we're going to have to talk about that big game, Nordavind versus Aves. Aves also being seen yesterday. They didn't have a particularly good game up against Wisla Krakow, even though they did look like they were in control for a very long time. Now, quickly looking at Nordavind, they're a team that has tons of individual skill across the board, and it's also a it's also a very evenly distributed team. So we saw Croman had a really good game against AGF when they were playing against Secret. Rixo really stepped up, even though they ended up losing out in a 2-1 fashion. I believe it was Tensky that was against Windstrike, and he performed really well in that scenario. And you also have players like HS, who, although it was a while ago, I believe it was in another tournament, against AGF, he had a great performance. So all across the board, you can already see that they have a very evenly distributed roster. And on the other side, Aves, of course, they they have Navrat, who's an individually really powerful player because he's able to frag while still leading the charge. Markosh looked a little shaky at times, and although we questioned his ability to often fight against the opposing oppers, he was able to put up a pretty good display against Hades from Wisla Krakow in the previous games. Unfortunately, just wasn't able to drag them across that finish line, and I feel like Kay and Kyler, they're just one of those duos that have so much so much room to grow, but they're also some of the promise for the Polish scene at the moment. And by Ali, of course, no introductions required. But I think what's going to be particularly interesting is the map pool. I'm quickly going to take a look at it. Hopefully, we can also get that up on your screens. Well, I'm not actually 100% sure about that. But Aves initially have picked Overpass, which is a little troubling for Nordavind because they've only played that 3 times. So allowing Aves to go for a pick like that, it's incredibly risky. 3 maps played, 33% win rate. They've only won 1 out of 3, and I'm quickly going to check this. Yeah, so the 2 maps they've lost that have been against Secret and Skade, and they haven't been in amazing fashion. Sure, they're able to get 12 rounds against Skade. They're able to get 4 rounds against Secret, but it's not the best result in the world. So Aves heavily favored on that first map. Second map, Nuke. Of course, win percentages for Nordavind all across the board are going to be a little shaky because they just haven't gotten to play as much as a roster. So it's very misleading. Wouldn't have as much of the same experience as he does because, of course, he is playing in Aves, world rank number 36, and making it to that top 50 bracket always going to be a bit of a challenge. Other than that, not much to say. Quickly going to be checking on the game to see whether or not it's starting. Shouldn't be too long before we see the knife round go live. And honestly, if I'm looking at Nordavind, I'm personally hoping that they start on the CT side because, well, if you're already down like that, if you're in a position where you pretty much have to fight an uphill battle to begin with, it's a really tough spot to be in. So CT side probably the most favorite spot to be in. But we're quickly going to be looking at the graphics now for the Swiss stages at the moment. If you're wondering how we got to this elimination point, if you're wondering who the teams are that are going up and the ones that will be falling behind, the way this works is that you have to be in the top 8 if you want to qualify, if you want to stay in the stages. So the games today, they're going to be incredibly impactful. So the teams we're seeing contesting for either their elimination or their qualification are Nordavind versus Aves. Of course, I've already harped on about that for the longest time. And then it's Espada versus Skade. And SG Pro versus forze, of course, they're on that. They're in no man's land where with a 2-2 score, you never know what's going to happen. And I'm honestly really looking forward to the Espada versus Skade game as well. So even though Nordavind versus versus Avez should be an interesting game, I feel like Espada versus Skade have a little more history, a little more statistics to go off of, a little more history in that regard. So perhaps we can see something interesting off of that. Quickly going to check on the knife round now. Okay. All right. Yeah, just got word from production that we should be live with the knife round in just a bit. So one thing I'm also worried for on the Avis side is Navrot in particular. Yesterday, when they were playing against Wisla Krakow, this is obviously the nitty-gritty to get into, but Navrot didn't have the most amazing of series. And sure, a game or two is excusable. Sure, you can have a map where you drop off, but throughout the series, it felt like he was always on a perpetual comeback. I believe there was a time where he was even going 1-10, but now I've just gotten word that the knife round is live, so we'll be taking you straight to the game and joining you with the action now. Before we start, of course, we have to quickly remind you that Esports Millions is back in collaboration with 9to5 Cup 4. You once again have the chance to win 1 million euros with Esports Millions. You can head over to esportsmillions.gg to take part for free. All you need to do is give your predictions across 10 questions and simply watch Cup 4 to see if you'll hit the jackpot. Remember, all participants will also be in with a chance of winning a main gear gaming PC that is worth $1,500, so you can go over to esportsmillions.gg to play right now. All right, now we're seeing those ticks come in, so that is a sign of good things to start, hopefully. But I believe Nordavind has already won out the pistol round. Sorry, the knife round. Nordavind, of course, starting off on the CT side. Aves. The graphics have apparently fooled me. So I'm just gonna wait until the ticks stop coming in, and yeah, it is actually Nordavind on the CT side, Aves on the T, and that's actually something I really wanted to see. Of course, when you are fighting an uphill battle, when you're punching above your weight, you at least want the side advantage, and Overpass in that regard is still a very classic map because there aren't really many maps left that are particularly CT or T-sided, and Overpass is honestly no exception, but it's still a relatively more CT-sided. Nordavind, they're going for CT connector aggression. HS looking to catch Kyler out. Kyler has gotten so much information off of this. They're just trying to take him out here. Chroman has already picked him up, but that's information for 3 players. Aves know what they need to do, and they'll immediately be rushing onto the A bomb site. The bomb is already making its way there, and 1 player will be creeping in from playground. Will they be checking this flank? Could be the difference maker. Chroman finds another good shot. K, he's trying to fight back. He's had some glory with the P250 before, but unfortunately, this is not going to be his day just yet. Nordavind find the first round off of a very calculated push. Looking at their buy now. 4 sets of Kevlar. Very economical buys here. The Ritter, Rixo, and Insta have opted for those MP9s. It's a fair bit of utility. And up against the setup they're going against. Oh, juicy nade. Up against the setup they're going against. Very easy to just pick up damage and money with the MP9s. But still going to be a relatively slow-paced round from Aves, contrary to what you generally expect. if you're expecting them to just go for a throwaway round. K being passed over, signature P250. Maybe you can get something done with that, but other than that, there has been no investment. Rixo playing up close and personal. MP9 starts to chime in. He's even spotted 2 players on his way out, so the communication should already be there. Now CT's patiently waiting, allowing Avez to move into the site. They're not pulling the trigger just yet, and they realize that there needs to be pretty much no effort from their part because there is no investment from Avez. Avez, on the other hand, of course, just looking to take a few pot shots, maybe take a gun on the way out, maybe get a bomb plant, and the smoke kind of helps them isolate this duel, but Insta, of course, having an MP9 changes things significantly. And K, he will be no exception. 2-0, Nordavind taking the first 2 rounds, which are incredibly useful for them, all things considered, because they just haven't had the best of experiences on Overpass. Avez, of course, being a little more experienced, at least as a team, at least as a roster, to be able to play together in so many official games. But of course, the team can still end up practicing even if they're scrimming. Avez, 4 AK-47s from them, a Galil, and utility across the board. So, not having an investment in the previous round means that they can buy up equivalently to Nordavind. Well, actually, I would go ahead and say that they have a better buy because they have 4 AKs, and up against MP9s that can be a little too powerful, but it still comes down to how Nordavind play this. They realize they're underpowered weaponry and they try to go for aggression, but K has already responded. Roman gets caught off guard by Navrat. Force Avez already getting the advantage based off of K stopping their initial push, and I still respect the decision from Nordavind because they realize there's somebody holding in the back lines from the side of Avez, but at the end of the day, that's what the CTs have to do if they have underpowered weaponry, and that gamble just doesn't end up working out for them. Ritter trying to cross over to get a bit more cheeky angle, it just doesn't end up working for him either. So HS left all alone in A1 versus 4, and there's also somebody creeping up on the flank, which is actually something that he'll be careful of. Navrat still, at the end of the day, comes out on top, regardless of whether or not HS is wary of that angle. Nordavind. Now, AWP in the hands of Rixo. Everybody else, not the best of buys. A little shoddy, of course, because you are on the CT side. Money is a fickle beast, and it's a beast that is very, very hard to take control of. Navrat, already having crept past the Molotov, might be able to get the drop on the player playing from toilets, but a pretty default setup from K. They're just locking their pushes. K, of course, watching the B push, as he did before, and he was able to capitalize with 2 kills. So Avez, they won't be pushing anytime soon, since their weaponry is pretty much matched up at this point. Utility looking pretty similar on either side, but the T side needs significantly less, but because they can still make do with a couple of smokes, while the Nordavind side would probably be a little happier if they had some more left. Or some of that has already been exhausted, so 3 smokes still being left when you have 50 seconds. It's serviceable. Insta about to be greeted by Navrat. The pop flash is good, but Navrat hasn't spotted him, and Rixo even allows him the opportunity to never actually reveal himself. Insta starts to back off, and Rixo, recognizing the push, will make the call to back off. Play a little bit more passively instead, but Avez instead, they're creeping in the shadows. They've already made their way to connector. Ritter might be the only line of defense. Ooh, but there's also HS in the side. He has a UMP, so a crossfire is doable.
Croman tries to swing out, but before that even happens, he gets caught out with the MP9. Ritter tries to be cheeky with the pillar, but at the end of the day, he's only able to get one kill. Rixo and Insta, they're looking to go for the retake. K spots him. The smoke is not the best friend of his, and Rixo has to try to get it done 1 versus 2. He's picked up a more serviceable weapon, but of course, the UMP just doesn't have the accuracy required to be able to pull something like that off. Very nicely done by Aves, and now Nordavind will be on the back foot. They simply don't have much money to work with. $2,000 across the board, so we're probably just looking at a throwaway round. No investments being made, not even a flashbang. And what looks like a P250 in the hands of Rixo is actually probably just a P2000 because the silhouette is so similar. Aves still playing things very conservatively. Have to play it quite carefully because they cannot risk running into a stack, and had they gone to A, had they ventured through toilets, they would be running into a stack. Now by Ali, coming up connector. Might just be greeted by a few of these players. He is able to find 2, 3, and it is a pretty good cleanup, but he will pay with his life for it. Aves, very strong showing, not really giving up much economy. And with only by Ali falling, it doesn't matter too much. Nice little spray down, though. Really like the ability to hold down the line, and even tags up a player to the point of pretty much death. Early Molotov from Aves to deny any pushes that could come through B, so great little detail there. And it also keeps them at bay and keeps them second guessing for whether or not there's information on short. So if there's never a CT there, and if they never retake it, they will always have a shadow of doubt in their minds of whether or not there's additional players on short, or whether or not they can be flanked from connector. Another early Molotov to try to clear out the toilets angle. Aves taking control of short. There's still a player in connector, and one watching the long push from playground. So meticulous detail is going into it from the Aves side. They're not making any ace-t plays, and although there's a bit of a one-way smoke going on for Rixo, there's nobody coming his way just yet. Maybe it's Kyler that eventually will pull through, but Aves haven't really jumped the gun just yet. Another re-smoke, but HS and it's just Croman smoke left at the end of the day. So with only 40 seconds on the clock, their utility usage hasn't been the best in the world, but it's still serviceable. Ritter will fall on the B-bomb site, but now the CTs might actually be able to catch wind of the fact that Aves are about to go into the A side. Rixo has to swing out. The flashbang is perfect from Insta, and he even goes for a third, but he's unfortunately unable to find it. By Ali and Markosh, looking to take this 2 versus 4, but there's only 15 seconds on the clock. It's very tough to get it done, and Insta with the crossfire doesn't even have to put that to use. 3-3, and Nordavind play that to perfection, draw their utility out up until the very end. And off of that one flashbang, Rixo, really good little kills coming out from him. Scoreline tied up. Nordavind still able to have enough money for an investment. They should have, of course, they have full utility at this point, but the next round, of course, looking a little bleak. Could they end up losing it? Still. Nordavind playing off of playground. They're not pushing in just yet, expecting a little bit more aggression from Aves, allowing them to draw out their utility already. Pretty standard style of play. They're just allowing the CTs to use their utility and then maybe go for a late push, locking their pushes. Very slow-paced default coming out from the side of Aves, which is not something that I particularly like. And I know that the graphics on the scoreboard are switched up right now, but they're going to be fixing just a little bit, so don't worry about that. Aves. The bomb slowly routing itself through T-spawn and making its way towards B. Now they're all lined up. This should be a B commitment. There's still a player in toilet, so the flank potential is there, but Kroman has timed it perfectly, but Markosh responds, and that's the B site opened up. There's only one player left in the form of Ritter. He has an MP9, and the flashbang was good, but it ended up flashing both sides. 5 versus 3, Nordavind desperately trying to get onto the B site. Well, actually, they're just going to have to back off. Even though it kind of looked like Rixel was maybe trying to get an early shot, it's just not going to be the case. And he has to back off instead. Aves getting away with all pieces on the chessboard just couldn't be something that Nordavind allows. And they even end up losing insta, so that's one gun being lost by them. HS and Rixo still have the privilege to make it to the next round with an AWP and an AK, so that does bolster their economy by a tad bit. Maybe they can afford a few pieces of utility. Maybe HS can even drop a weapon. Maybe Rixo can drop a weapon as well. So a buy definitely in the cards, and it is going to be as such. But utility will be fairly limited. They have 4 smokes. Ritter, the man with the MP9, will also be the man with no smokes. Aves. They have as much utility as they could possibly need. K playing his bread and butter position with a flashbang towards B, keeping the CTs at bay and keeping them busy at B. Markosh looking to find something in connector, but it'll be very long before he actually does. Rixo, this is the second time the CTs have gotten punished for getting too cheeky with K. And I really like this detail from K because it's a little drawn out to always be playing from B, pretty much never be joining your team, but to consistently have control of B, they never have to worry about a flank, and it also means that Nordavind can never make a commitment to B. Maybe they can start to catch him off with a couple flashes or so, but always having K will mean that they will always stay at bay. So, Aves backed off a little bit because of a flashbang being thrown out by Insta, but they've already lost a player, and Aves needs to do something fast, but problem is that Nordavind still have 3 players on the A bomb site. Question is whether or not this bomb makes the B commitment. Of course, it starts going towards short now, but there's only 20 seconds on the clock. Luckily, Nordavind, their eyes are set on A. Navrot is coming from the back lines. He's able to find one, and before the bomb even goes down, Aves, very comfortable round for them. Pretty much taking no scratches, no scuffs. And Nordavind, on the other hand, $2,500 across the board, roughly. Well, actually, I'd go ahead and say that it's more like 2,800 average, but not the best money in the world. Looking to go for this throwaway round. Everybody's stacking towards long, but they don't even have a single flashbang, so this should just be a firing range. Navrot trying to tap away. He's found 3, and his teammates chime in for a 4th. But HS still, at the end of the day, he's able to recover a deagle. He's able to get a little cheeky with a 1 kill. Well, that is going to be all she wrote pretty much, because can't really expect him to get much out of this. He does have a deagle, however, which can be a little dicey at times. But dicey doesn't mean 5 kills. Still really like the kills coming out there. Navrot able to hold down the line without much of an investment from his end. Feels a little sad because Bayali even tried to protect him there in that instance, but Aves already a strong showing on their T side. They're pretty much looking at the half win. Ooh, I like this detail from Kroman. He's taking a run boost across, so there's no way the T side know that there's a late reposition. Ritter. Molotov is very well timed. He's able to keep the T's at bay, and this is the first time that K will actually lose his life to Kroman. They end up losing out the duels on B, and now B is wide open. T's quickly making the adjustment. The smokes will be lined up for A, and it'll just be Ritzo who's left on the A side, and he's already fallen. The rotation starts to come in, but can it come in fast enough? Insta tries to run out through the smoke, but Kyler is already there, and that'll lead Nordavind on the back burner. They'll just have to back off because there's no way they're getting control of the A site after Aves have already stepped foot on it. And again, it seems to be the tale of saves. Not really catching much of a break here. My apologies if you guys hear a sniff or two, because of course I'm feeling a little under the weather, so sometimes it happens. Aves. Time and time again, they're able to get through rounds with pretty much all of their members alive. They'll lose a player. They might lose K if he gets aggressed. If he gets aggressed by two players, they might lose by Ali because he's getting very aggressive. But other than that, they haven't had to make a significant investment, and it's all the more important to know that Markush has only had 3 deaths so far, and that is in 10 rounds. So consistently being able to save your AWP means that the investment will just not be made, and you never really get a chance to chip away at the T side economy. And although it's not as important as the CT side economy, you still want to get a few rounds in there. You still want to keep that utility at bay, and you want to get those AWPs out of their hands. Rixo. Yes, very aggressive, but instead of K, this time it's Markosh that's watching the push. HS will still have a teammate to try to defend him. The Navrod has spotted them. All the CTs have already pretty much rotated, but before they can get the bomb down, they've picked up 2. HS finally reveals his position in the water. And with a smoke, he's allowed himself a lot more mobility. He's still wary of the player on shore, but Bayali comes out on top. Insa, now in a 1 versus 2, he has to find 2 angles, and that is 2 angles too many. 8-3. Aves already with the half win, while Nordavind are trailing behind with 3. Now I no longer have to use a prop mug because my actual tea has arrived, so maybe I can tip my hat in the post game, but unfortunately it's not going to be very early in the morning by then. Aves able to catch off a Nordavind player. There's not really an investment from the Nordavind side, just AWP in the hands of Kroman. And I still respect that because it means that they can still end up saving it in the next round. This isn't entirely a full commitment. Kroman can go for a few pot shots. He can individually take control of long, and then he can just back off and pretty much save. But it's always a threat when Aves have consistently been playing a player on the B site, and he might come in from the side and go for the hunt early on. And hunts are pretty much guaranteed considering Aves do have all the money in the world. Okay, now finally capitalizing on the position he's been playing forward from. He's able to catch out a player and ends up hitting his shots, and Ritter will fall, so might be a bit of a scramble onto the B site, and now Aves will be backing off. They recognize that Nordavind probably have a commitment to A, but Nordavind also make a quick adjustment, the AWP being repositioned into jungle, as HS tries to chime in as well. Kroman has been smoked out. K is already in the back lines, and although Kroman tries to respond, he's unable to find much. And this is where the coveted save comes in. He only has 2 kills, but those are the only kills they got in this round. Doesn't realize that Markosh, of course, is coming in from the side, and Kroman will fall. 9-3, Aves already looking to make it double digits, while Nordavind still trailing heavily behind with only 3 rounds on the board. Look at that. They have so much money, they don't even care about popping a nade in the air. Probably because they want to have a different kind of setup. Maybe have an extra flashbang. Not exactly sure what they went for, but probably just to switch out nades. Now there's only one defender on the B side, but aggression has been shown towards connector, so a flank might very well come in. But they've only allowed one player to position towards the connector area, and the rest have backed off, so a late rotation might be in the cards, as Ritter has already made his way onto the B site. It'll be very tough for them to hold on to this alone. The investment from the CT side, of course, is all they can possibly make. They don't have much money. They didn't have much money, so utility looking a little lackluster. Okay, smoke lined up for graffiti, I believe. Navrat, quick Molotov to barrel. Navrat, a nade goes out to clear the close angle. K with a supportive flashbang is now starting to move in, but Kroman's already found 2 towards short. K is unable to find him in the back. And now is down to a heavily damaged terrorist side to potentially bring it back. Bialy's found the Opper, but Markosh will have to chime in soon. Markosh will fall to Kroman. And Kroman's just been on fire. 2 very good kills from him, being followed up by a third. Does Bialy catch the stack here? He's trying to maneuver around graffiti. They're not sure of where he is, but HS is able to run away with his head still intact. Bialy knows there's 2 players there, but what can you do about that when you drop the first shot? And Nordavind, they're not entirely out of it just yet. Of course, 4 rounds aboard is not a sight for sore eyes, but now at least they have some money to work off of, because being able to save 3 weapons means that you can drop, and you can also buy a fair amount of utility. On the Avez side, however, money's never going to be a concern. There's only 3 rounds left, and they still have 9,000 built up on Markosh. HS responds, fitting his name, quick little headshot, and it's a 4 versus 3. Nordavind playing a very aggressive game here towards short, but they're forced to back off with a supportive smoke and flashbang being thrown by Navrat. Now K, time and time again, late into the rounds, he's able to capitalize on the position he always puts himself in, makes himself comfortable in B, and now the call should come in. Insta swings out wide, he knows where the bomb is. But my question is whether or not K actually calls for that rotation. They're not committing to it just yet, and it looks like they'll be backing off, and with 50 seconds on the clock, there couldn't be a better call. There's 1 player in long, 1 player playing off of toilets, so Aves, it should be a pretty comfortable B site. K, of course, is the lock and key they have. He is the gatekeeper of the B site, should the CTs try to come back in. And that is something that Nordavind just have been unable to check. Okay, time and time again, he's able to play off of that same position late into the rounds. He's either just able to serve as a distraction, so it's a win-win situation for him. He either locks and he dies and gives them the info, he locks and he ends up getting the kills, he waits for the longest time and he moves into the site very late, and he's either able to get a kill, he's either able to keep them distracted, or if there's nobody there, he's able to serve as a flank, or he can even call for the rotation. So there are just so many opportunities that can be made off of K playing from that position that Nordavind just are unfortunately unable to check. Nordavind's still gotten a few hits in. They've gotten a few punches in. HS, of course, getting those early 2 kills. Fortunately, that's the rule of boxing. When you punch, you get punched back. And HS will be receiving punches no different. Unfortunately, we're not really seeing a contribution from Insta at this moment. We've seen him try to shimmy around those toilets. We've seen him try to play around long. But it seems like whenever he swings out, he's just unable to land his shots, and he always gets caught off guard. Too early in the game, however. Maybe the contribution could start coming in when they're on the T side, but Aves have already made a very strong showing here. Should they not make the mistakes that they made against Wisla Krakow. Tyler trying to get close to the smoke. It'll still be a while before they get an actual engagement here, but Aves are taking this meticulously. It's pretty much their bread and butter play. They always have K in the back. They go for early locks, and then they go for late round utility. Now, Croman, this time he wants to get a bit proactive about it, but Kyler being able to watch the push all the way from connector means that there's a kill, and Bayali is able to go on a bit of an individual adventure of his own. There's already 2 players down on the CT side. And Aves, that initial economy being bolstered, is coming back to bite Nordavind because they're unable to keep it in check. Time and time again, they have to play against these gun rounds in a position that could have been a lot more favorable for them. 5 rounds wouldn't have been the worst in the world, but when you're playing off 11-4, they're going to desperately want that pistol round. Ritter, oh, he pulls his utility at the wrong time, and now he's given up the audio cue. This should be the duel for K, but instead it's for Navrot, and HS should be the final one to fall, but he is still putting up a fight. It is a 1 versus 2, and HS, he's had a solid performance, but needs to get the ace clutch to make it happen. He's coming in from connector. But at the very least, he might be able to catch off the player that is going for the plant. He almost finds the 4th, but that could be the difference maker right there. Had he gotten the kill, the ace clutch will be in the cards, but Markosh, now he knows his position, and he might just get tagged up by the AWP, but that shot being missed allows him the opportunity. HS finds the 4th. He's even finding the 5th. This could potentially be the ace clutch, and HS can just change the game here. He switches over to the AK, or rather the USP, to go for a quick fake flashbang, and it ends up faking out Markosh. The shot will be missed, and HS gets an ace clutch, and where I thought that HS would fall, it's an insane clutch from him to close out the first half, and what a fitting time to do it, because Nordavind desperately needed it. Aves. Very strong showing in the first half. HS might have just gotten Nordavind a lifeline by getting them that last round, but realistically speaking, not much of a difference when you're looking at Nordavind. Not much of a difference when you're looking at 11-4 versus 10-5. The pistol round will still be incredibly important for Nordavind to be able to build up an economy and snowball off the fact that Aves is now playing on the CT side, so maybe the avalanche of having a bad economy can start to come back to bite them, but they need the pistol round to start things off. K playing away with the USP. Navrot is starting to tap in, but so much damage has already been done. HS and Kroman eventually chime in, and it's a 3-on-3. They're moving on to the B site now. The retake starts to ensue. There's 2 players on long. They swing out, and Kyler is able to find one insta. Just not able to land his shots in the series so far. HS, can he get another clutch to keep his team in the game? Unfortunately, that's a little too burdensome even for his shoulders. It's incredibly commendable when you look at HS and you look at the kill distribution on his team. There's not a single player that has a positive KDR at the moment, but he's sitting on a KDR of 2, so he's very effectively been able to keep himself alive while still netting kills, very important kills for the team. And I know some of them were exit frags, but just that clutch alone might have just saved things for Nordavind, but it comes down to whether or not Nordavind can materialize on a very important lifeline that was given to them. Weaponry is not the worst in the world. Nordavind can still make something happen off of this, but the hero AK setup, unfortunately, they're unable to afford 2 of them, and MP9s galore. Kyler makes quick work of them, and their defense has already fallen, or rather their offense. Insta hasn't had the best of games, as I've said before. Now we'll be down to this 1 versus 4 up against MP9s. Just not happening, especially when you have someone basically around the corner waiting to take your head off. Aves Looking to close things out early. Nordavind really haven't found their footing this game. Avas looked solid across the board, and that is further cemented by the fact that they started on a T side. So 10 rounds on the T side, not something that should be allowed if you're looking for a game win in the cards. Bit of an investment from Nordavind. They do have a Deagle in the hands of Insta. Well, they buy down to $2,000, so they can still buy up in the next round with their 2,900 loss bonus to be able to get an AK, get some armor, and still have enough money in the bag for maybe a couple Molotovs, maybe have a smoke in there. Utility won't be the best in the world, but utility will be serviceable. Question is, can they upset on a round like this? Answer is most likely no, but a man can dream. Just a little sad to see that they don't have a single set of armor. And, of course, the decision is good because we don't want them to have a set of armor so they can eventually have the buy-up. Now, CT side, pretty much a standard cleanup, but Nordavind, they're still able to make a dent as Croman is able to find a kill from the back lines. Connector has been taken control of. Bayali's pushing in. He spotted a player going back, so now they know that B is in the cards. They're probably... Oh, yeah. This is pretty much a checkmate from Navrat. He's already the rook waiting for the queen to move in to the corner. Rather, the king. Navrat swinging out at the wrong time. This is now actually a serviceable round, and although I said the answer might be no, now Nordavind, based on the way they've been playing, they might be able to piece something off of this. Insta has an AK in his hands, 15 seconds, is almost able to find Bayali, who's jumping up, but the aim punch will be a little too much to handle, and Insta will eventually fall. 3 rounds away from the victory for Aves, and of course, this is a best of 3, so Nordavind wouldn't be out of it just yet, but this overpass pick, a little too dangerous for Aves. I actually want to quickly go over to the statistics for either team really quickly, because I just want to be reminded of what I was looking at earlier. It was... So yeah, even in the next map, Aves are a pretty seasoned team. Nuke is probably Aves' best map based on their win percentages alone. Well, save for Vertigo, but we don't talk about that. Second best map, let's say. It's not the most ideal of situations for Nordavind to be in. And map number 3 is looking like it's already in the cards for them should they want to take this. Flashbang comes out. The reposition from Navrat is perfect. He's peeking away at the perfect time. So they're able to pick up 3 kills. Insta ready on 3 HP, but unfortunately for them, he's the one that is taken away first. Rixo now in a 1 versus 2. There is a flank in the back line. Kyler has fallen, so Rixo is looking to make it the 1 versus 2 clutch. Markosh, the opposing opper, will be the one to contend with. Rixo, instead of going to A, he'll be playing the slow game and instead waiting it out on short. Markosh starts to doubt his gut instinct and will be going back to A instead. Rixo just waiting this out, potentially expecting a second flank, but it's pretty much mind games all across the board. Rixo, comfortable bomb plant, definitely looking like it will be the case now. And he's checked out waters. He's still not 100% sure of B Monster, but the Molotov will be good enough to allow him to plant. Markosh moves through the Molotov, or did he move to the Molotov or drop down for some damage? I'll never know. But Rixo, he'll be able to find the shot. And the 1 versus 2 clutch. Or rather the 1 versus 3 actually, because he was able to initially trade away his teammate as soon as he died. So very important clutch for Rixo to keep Nordavind in the game, but Aves, man oh man, they're just so far ahead right now. Still pixel perfect accuracy from Rixo. Played that to perfection. Even timed it for the Molotov. Knew that Markosh couldn't come in sooner. Nordavind. Initial utility commitment. Ave's on the other hand. Just not much money to work off of, but they're looking at a pretty standard B push now. Nordavind, their cavalry is moving in. Kroman is able to find a player in water, and even though Navrod is desperately trying to fire back, he's unable to find anything. Byali and Markosh will be left in their lonesome to try to defend themselves, looking for exit frags. That will probably be the best they can hope for. Nordavind weren't looking particularly interesting on the CT side, but we have yet to see signs of greatness coming out from Avez either, so question is, can Nordavind take this? Can they bring it back from that 7? They're not exactly in the hole just yet, and maybe they can snowball it off of the economy disadvantage that Avez will always have because they are on the CT side now, and there's a certain charm to being on the T side when you're on the second half, of course. You can play off of economy, and money will be less of a concern. You get to play more gun rounds straight off the bat. So maybe that's still something that Nordavind can work off of. But Avez, they're able to save an M4, save a scout rifle, and there will be some investment in the form of a Deagle in the hand of K, and Kyler gets a little cheeky with a Zeus. But other than that, not really much. Based on their loss bonus, Kroman. Now is just not the time to be surfing, buddy. Gets caught off. That's the first kill for Nordavind, who won't be making an early commitment just yet. But Byali's in potentially a great position for the cutoff. Finds the player in playground. Ritter has fallen, and that is space being created. Markosh finds Kroman as well. The scout rifle has chimed in, and suddenly what seemed like an early advantage for Nordavind has gone the way of Avez. Kyler's even moving up connector, and Rixo, he's accidentally fallen down. He misses his shot with the AWP, but he's dropped in the hole, and the hole is where you don't want to be. Oh, that is so unfortunate. Even gets caught off with the pistol, and the AWP has been given away. K has a deagle. He's looked phenomenal with pistols before. HS quickly trying to shut him off, but HS has suddenly salvaged the situation. Marco just needs to find a single shot, and Avez have closed out a round in a very unlikely scenario. Beautifully done from Avez. Byali's aggression, perfectly timed, able to move up playground and create that space for his team. Not something that he should have been able to done had Nordavind had some kind of check for the flank. But at the end of the day, that is a round for them. Can't take that away from them. Nordavind, they still have a buy round, but this is incredibly problematic for them. If they end up losing out on this, they won't even have a proper contest to put up in the 15th. Markosh watching playground, but doesn't feel like he's going to find anything soon. Now they know his position because he threw in early smoke. Kroman is aggressed forward. He's found the opening frag, but there's a supportive smoke to help Kyler out. He gets the lineup. He's able to find the first kill and the second. That is Byali getting the janitorial works done over towards long, and Kyler will chime in again. And I'm actually a little confused. Where did that second kill go? Did Kyler get it? Or was that team damage? I'm pretty sure that was team damage. Maybe I can get a replay of that. That looks so spotty. Yeah, now we get to see that. Now we... Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Oh no, Ritter ended up killing Kroman. No wonder. I was like, why doesn't Kyler have 2 kills? I got a little confused there, so I stopped talking, but apparently, that's team damage right there. Very juicy little nade to shut down the 1 point of contest they had in the form of HS. And he's probably punching his desk right now because he's been trying to carry his team at the moment. But unfortunately, even before he gets a chance in the last round, He's been tagged down to 8. Markosh weaving in and out of battle. He's already picked up 2 kills, and damage has been established on HS, who shouldn't really be able to get anything done here. But instead, he proves me wrong because the Tech 9, that one bullet headshot, comes to play. Rixo and HS now trying to fight an uphill battle. He has a deagle. He has to get the 1 versus 2 to potentially keep his team in the game. He's already coming around them. Are they going to expect him to already be in toilets? They're aggressing to long, so this could very well be a free duel for him, but he's looking away. Bayali has spotted him out. The nade comes out, and he's not expecting Bayali to have repositioned by that time, and that is all she wrote. Avez picking up the first map, which is their pick very convincingly, but we'll be back with map number 2, which is Nordavind's pick. Very hard to pronounce name. It is Nordavind's pick, but can still get a little dicey because of the way we've seen Avis play on it in the past. So stay tuned. We'll be back with map number 2.
Initialize booting. These are your targets. You must find, capture and contain them until extraction vehicle arrives. Witnesses are irrelevant. Leave them unharmed if you can. End of a transmission. System online.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Aves versus Nordavind.